Man!
Single stack problems?
Yeah. What's going on, guys? Hey, look at, as you can probably tell, there's a little bit of a formatting difference here. But my name is Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. Now today, we're actually going to go over a pistol I really, really like, and I spent a whole bunch of money on. Mostly because it's a particular type of firearm that's my favorite, personally. And yes, I'm a 1911 fanboy. So here's the thing, right? We're going to go ahead and talk about this pistol today. There's going to be a little bit of shooting, interrupting, you know, the video and that kind of stuff, because as much as you guys like it when I lull you to sleep with my voice, I decided to go ahead and change things up, break it up a little bit of shooting, that kind of deal. So, let's talk about this for a second, right? Now, this is the Dan Wesson Specialist. This particular Dan Wesson Specialist is in 9mm, running Minuteman munitions. So, this right here is a fantastic pistol. I've run reviews on the Specialist before. That one was in 45. A lot of times, though, when you have a 9mm 1911, you run into a lot of issues. But I decided I was going to roll the dice and go ahead and pick this one up. Now, what this pistol comes with, for those of you that don't know jack and or shit about the Specialist, it actually comes with quite a lot, and it's one of those pistols that is an off the rack. It's a production gun, but it's a production gun that has a lot of like semi-custom features in it and that kind of stuff. And what I really mean by that is there's extra whiz-bang things on it, and there's a little more hand fitting going on. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about the sights. They're Heine straight 8s. I personally really like them day or night. They're nice and right angular. There's a deeper channel in here, so you can pick the front sight up fairly quickly. I mean, as you guys saw, you know, it's not really that difficult to pick up those sights and do well with them. 12 o'clock slide serrations to kind of cut down on glare, and you guys can see with the finish that it has. A lot of times 1911s, especially with like stainless steel finishes, or even a lot of attempted to be matte finishes, will carry a bunch of glare with them. So this cuts down on that and helps you pick up your sights. It helps. Amber and a green, so amber dot and a green dot on these. So as far as night sights are concerned, I really do like them. They function basically just like a set of target sights during the day, and at night you can pick up the front from the rear easily. Abi Controls include this guy right here. I like larger safety levers. If we're going to do the ambi thing, mostly because if we're going to do that, you can basically pin this guy down and use your own thumb, if you're left-handed, as a brass deflector. And what's kind of funny is that I spent so much time on Tupperware guns that I was causing issues because I was gripping the pistol like so and shoving brass back into the gun. And at first I was thinking, okay, it was the ammo I'm shooting and that kind of stuff. And then I just kind of started using my thumb as a brass deflector, and since then the thing has run like an absolute champion. So we'll talk about reliability and stuff later, but that is what it is. G10 grips that are really aggressive. I really do like them. The front and back strap checkering is also very aggressive. And see, here's the thing. A lot of people will sit there and whine about that kind of shit, but, you know, sweaty, muddy, bloody, whatever, it's going to stay embedded in the hand. It's going to run fine. And for those of you that get hurt by grips, whether it's on a 9 or a 45 or whatever, look, I get it if it's not your speed, but me personally, like, my hands don't give a shit. So there you go. Little itty bitty nice features in there. This takedown lever, which, you know, obviously your slide lock lever pin and all that, it's recessed a little bit so that you can't like land it on something and push the pin out and all of that crazy shit. And it just streamlines the gun a little bit more. You know, it's more of a I like that versus it's a necessary, I have to have this kind of a thing. 1913 section. There are some really badly done 1913 dust covers on pistols. This is not one of them. So long as you stick a light on this thing, any 1911 holster that accommodates, you know, your type of light or whatever will fit in a holster. Like for instance, if you went to, let's name a pretty shit company like Taurus or something, right? That rail on the Taurus is not going in a 1911 holster. You have to be specific to the type of holster that you want, especially if you stick a light on it. So there you go. Going this way. Now, this lever right here, this slide lock lever, is not enlarged, but it's heavily ledged, right? So for me personally, as a left-handed guy, it's really easy to actuate all the stuff in here with just a trigger finger. Generally speaking, I don't like extended magazine release buttons, but this one is rounded off to where even if I'm gripping the pistol really hard, I don't get my own digits in there and pressing on the button. So, I mean, yeah, while it is a little extended, I can work around this kind of stuff. Now, if you have meatier hands and you're left-handed, you may be concerned with this, but, you know, your mileage may vary, dude. So I really do enjoy this a lot because it's not sloped. I can't slip off of it. Like, you catch it and it goes down. Like, it's really easy to use, right or left-handed, really. But the only thing that I've noticed is that friends of mine have shot this right-handed. Guys that really pinch down hard on the sides, right? Depending on how their grip is, they may inadvertently force this down to where they can't get it to go in a slide lock. It's kind of a grip type deal or a grip style type deal. Me personally, even right-handed, I'm using my thumb to brace on the light so it takes pressure off the palm. This works as it's supposed to, you know. So and you can see that on this side as well. I'm using the light body itself, and then if I have to actually go ahead and use the light, I can turn it on, turn it off, whatever. So, is what it is. Now, here's the thing. The magwell that's in this thing, right? Different from the older Specialist that I reviewed in the past. This is a one-piece. Way back when I got this in like 2012, or the 45 version of this in 2012, this guy right here was a fixed in or secured in, rather, with an Allen screw. I didn't like that too terribly much because 45 recoil backs out screws. This is a one-piece type deal that's pinned in with your mainspring housing pin, so you're good. So that works, and as far as like magazine changes and stuff like that, it's pretty fast. It's you know, it's better than a straight square cut magwell, so it works out. The trigger in this thing is very 1911-esque. It lies to you about your abilities. 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch, it's fine. So, you know, it does exactly what it's supposed to. And lastly, well, actually, two more things. One, this is not like a GI spec front sight post. It is pinned in rather than staked in. And the finish on this is an ion bonded finish. It's extraordinarily tough. Like, it does not give a shit at all. Like, I put 5,000 rounds through this gun by now, right? And you can barely tell through holster presentations and all that stuff. And only after you clean this up can you actually start to really see the wear on the barrel hood. And the funny thing is that even the junk that's on it right now, you can see it's got some mileage on it, especially for a lot of 1911s. Very few people that I know that own 1911s actually put miles on them. But when it's cleaned up, it's easier to tell. The gun is very tight fit, especially to start. Holy shit, getting it apart was a little bit of a chore because everything is hand fitted to where it's tight, but not so tight that the gun doesn't work well, right? So there's that. So it's got a lot of little features in it that a lot of custom shops will put in their guns, and the semi-custom 1911 is fairly prevalent now. It's nothing new. But the cool thing about this individually is that it's got all of them right here, and for me personally, for my applications and stuff, I absolutely love this pistol. For my mileage and whatnot, as far as lefties are concerned, this is like the best production as far as features set that you're going to get out of a 1911, especially if you know what you want. So, you know, is what it is there. So we're going to talk about reliability and stuff here because, as I mentioned before, I put 5,000 rounds through this gun before I decided to go and do the review. A little more than my initial review for most guns, but this gun's really hard to shoot a little bit with. So we'll go ahead and get into it. All right. So let's talk about this. The accuracy and reliability of the pistol. Okay. Assuming that I haven't been out all day and sweating and dehydrated and shooting like shit, the thing does really well. And the main reason why I say that is obvious. I've been shooting like ass today. But here's the thing. As far as just accuracy and reliability, that kind of stuff, like I said previously, I put 5,000 rounds through this pistol. Okay. Here's the deal. It hasn't been 100% reliable, but I'm just going to go ahead and say at this point that that shit was my fault. Right? Because here's the thing. When I originally started shooting this pistol, occasionally, the vast majority of what I shot out of it was Tula. Right? Now here's the thing. I had gotten really used to polymer pistols. Right? And I would basically take that super duper aggressive grip and apply that to this pistol. Like so. The problem with this right here is that this thumb was getting in the way of the ejection port here. It was stuffing brass back into the gun. Right? So, up until this point, I had something like half a dozen stoppages with Tula and whatnot. But this isn't our first day of filming this. The first time that we came out here and filmed this, honestly, it was a fucking clusterfucked mess. But during that time, early in the day, that's when it finally dawned on me, because I was causing all kinds of stoppages, right? Because we'd shot a bunch of different guns that day, to include a Glock 20, right? So I go back to it with a super aggressive grip, and that's when I finally noticed that my thumbs are getting in the way, like little black marks on my thumb from brass, and then I'd have a stovepipe every single time, because like you see here, man, like if you get a good and aggressive grip like that, I'm covering the E-port. See what I'm saying? So, and here's the thing is that, like, it's 9mm. It shoots really soft. It's not like a 45 where it's getting you the fuck out of the way anyhow. So, I never really saw a problem with it. What I ended up doing was, I ended up simply just pinning that safety down hard and angling the thumb like so, to where my thumb, my other hand is coming in, and it's sitting down like so. Now, as it sits, what it's more like now is a friggin' brass deflector, right? Cannot talk today. But basically how it's sitting right now is just about the same angle that you would have for a lot of modern rifles as far as their brass deflectors and stuff are concerned. And you can actually see where my thumb is getting nicked up from brass and that kind of stuff. And if you're a lefty, you just have to deal with this shit. But the point is that, yes, I've had a little over half a dozen stoppages over the course of 5,000 rounds. And some people will sit there and say, oh, well, that's no big deal to start with. True, but at the same time, I was causing those problems. See what I'm saying? The last 2,000 rounds that were shot through this gun, I shot it like so. And I have not had a single stoppage out of it the entire time. It didn't matter what I shoved through it. Winchester steel, that aluminum case stuff, Winchester is pretty bad to start. Tula, Wolf, and the most recent ammo that's been shot through it is Minuteman munitions, the Reman Smurf bullets with like the polymer jacket and that kind of stuff. And it's run just fine. You know, I shot critical duty through the thing, works great, right? Assuming that I'm shooting well, it's very consistent, very accurate. You know, so as it stands, I mean, I ended up picking up the pistol for around $1,700, right? For many of you, that is not worth it. I totally understand. I completely understand. And I can see why people would not want to spend $1,700 on a pistol. But as far as the reliability factor is concerned, lots of 9mm pistols in this format are just awful. Okay, as far as just reliability and that kind of stuff is concerned. So, speaking to that, me personally, like, over the course of the last couple thousand rounds, yeah, absolutely, no holds bar, I'll trust this thing with my life, right? Now, as far as accuracy and that kind of stuff is concerned, I mean, you guys see me shoot far away and that kind of stuff. You guys see me do shot reload shots. Freaking somewhere in this, embedded in this video, there's going to be me shooting a freaking paint can at like 36 yards. And, you know, it's accurate, okay? It's fitted tight enough to where the tolerances are really help out as far as just ballistics and that kind of stuff is concerned. It's not a super loose pistol, But at the same time, it's got enough wiggle in it to where it doesn't stop itself for no reason, like most Kimber pistols ever. See what I'm saying? So, you know, it's accurate as shit. It's super reliable, and I'm really beginning to really like this pistol. Now, there are a couple of quirks associated with it, and we'll get to that here in a second. Okay, so let's talk about some stuff here. Now, here's the thing. I just sat there and talked about, you know, like reliability and that kind of stuff. There are a couple of quirks with this pistol that I've noticed over time. Things that, honestly, like, you just have to deal with as far as 1911s go. Now, here's the thing. First and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about this issue right here. Okay. The trigger bow in this individual pistol is very robust. It's not like some of the really, really thin trigger bows that I've seen out there. And also, there are no like MIM parts in this. All of this is like tool steel. Every single part that's in here. The only issue that I really have with this magazine release, or correction, the trigger bow that's in this, is that you can actually see it. It impacts on magazines. Right? It's a little bit thicker than it needs to be, coming straight out of the factory. And hell, if you look at it real hard, you can even see where it's rubbing on mags. So a bunch of them will stick. Now, is that a really big issue? No, because as far as getting them out of there, they kick out just enough to where you're not, you know, really busting your ass to try and get them out. And it's not like pulling them out as a chore either. But it is something that I've noticed, and it's something that I noticed on the 45 that I did a few years back. So there's that. A way to rectify that, some sandpaper and a lot of time. Like, just be very careful, don't bend shit, that kind of deal. What is nice about it though is that it is an all steel gun, so it's not like some of the polymer trigger bows and shit that I've seen out there too. A big reason why, or just some of the absolute paper clip thinness that a lot of them are at too, which is why I'm never buying an STI pistol in my entire life. So there's that, right? Just getting that guy's kind of out of there is kind of a pain in the ass. The next thing that I noticed is that I ran the shit out of this thing from the word go, right? Before I knew it, there were 2,000 and then 3,000 rounds out of the gun. Around about that time period, the spring pin that affixes this in here started to walk out a little bit. And once they start to walk out, spring pins are one and done. So got that replaced, not that big of a deal, but something that I did notice was that the dovetail for this front sight is a little bit loose, like it just kind of floats in there. So this thing is being held on by basically an oversized roll pin at the moment, and like slathered red Loctite in it. And eventually, I'm pretty sure, you know, by like the 10 or 15,000 round mark, I'm going to have to replace it again. Is that really that big of a deal? Honestly, no. The amount of time that I've owned Glocks and that kind of thing, the screws in those have backed out. I've seen plenty of those come loose, or rear sights in Glocks just straight up fall off guns. It's really not that big of a deal. It has to do with use more than a complaint to me. But I will say, you know, if it's an action type like this or whatever, and especially if you got sights affixed by like set screws and all that jazz, make sure that you back them out and throw some red Loctite on them. I didn't think about the roll pin, and it walked itself out, you know, after like 3,000+ rounds of me just running the shit out of it. So, you know, not really that big of a deal, especially the amount that I shot the gun, but it did happen. So is what it is. Also, I was gonna like put up a clip of like previous to this. I was just doing it. This is like the third take, right? Because at 5,000 rounds, the extractor on this needs to be tuned. It's at the point where I was starting to get some stuck cases in there, and at first I thought it was like Winchester steel case ammo, because that ammo is shit. Same thing for like Winchester white box and the aluminum case stuff. But it wasn't causing the stuck cases that I was running into. It's the extractor more than likely just needs to be tuned, which that's above average for a 1911 anyhow. So, you know, we got the magazine sticking issue, and we have that, and the extractor tuning. Really no big deal. As far as the quirks that you could have on a 1911, it's rather few and far between on this guy. And You guys saw it's a friggin' laser beam and it works well. Now let's talk about magazines. Okay, you guys have seen the newer, I'm not sure if you have or have not seen the newer Wilson Combat magazines. These things work really, really good. They're really reliable. I love them. The stock mags that they come with also work really well. Here's the thing about the stock mags too. They've run really well pretty much as long as I've had them. They have the same sticking issues as these guys do, but as far as just reliability and that kind of stuff, I haven't had issues with Wilson's or the stock mags that come with the Dan Wesson Specialist.
But Chris, what about the Cobra mags?
So yeah, let's talk about those, because I'm sure that question's coming. I've used Cobras as far as 45s are concerned, and you know, it was a very passable thing. I've never really owned them before. So I was excited. A lot of people talk, you know, like really prop up Cobra mags for 1911, pick a thing. So I decided that I was going to pick up 4. Here's a problem with these magazines, okay? First and foremost, at first glance, dude, they fall right out of there. They like jolt out of there, you know, and they work great. But here's a problem, right? When it comes time to actually run the guns and that kind of stuff, you have a loaded magazine, you load the gun, you do some things or whatever, or you go to do like a quick little top off or a tactical reload or whatever, just so that you could plus one, and that happens just about every time when we're at 9 left in the magazine, sometimes on 8. We'll see if that works. Okay, I mean, it didn't get out of there, but you could see how it could sometimes, right? I'm not a big fan of that at all, dude. The entire purpose of magazines is to feed and hold bullets. If you have a problem holding bullets, I got a big problem with you. Okay. The second thing that I really don't like about these magazines is in very, very short order, they were starting to fail to lock the slide to the rear. Okay. For instance, this was empty, right? And it barely latched onto that one this time, right? And that's just 1 out of 3 that don't do that shit anymore.
But I got 100,000 rounds for mine.
Yeah, I bet you do, dude. By the time I got to 3,000, 4,000-ish rounds through the gun, and this is spread out between 2 stock magazines from Dan Wesson, 3 Wilson Combat magazines, and 4 Cobras. And 3 out of the 4 stopped working altogether. So, no, you don't have 10.8 billion rounds through those magazines, dude. You just don't, because there were 4 different ones in this caliber. Now, if you have 38 Super or fucking 45 or whatever, and they work great, but the 9mm Cobra mags work like ass. Okay, don't get these. Do not spend the money on them because they cost the same as fucking Wilson's. Absolutely, positively not. These mags can go fuck themselves. Make sense? So, those are just little quirks that I had on the pistol itself. Were they game breakers for me? No, because I know that 1911s are fucking fighter jets, and there's a lot of things that you have to monitor on them. What things? I'll make a video for that eventually, and we'll move on from that here. But as far as the 1911 goes, especially an off-the-rack 9mm 1911 in a 45, basically wearing a 45 suit, right? The pistol works absolutely amazing. So, overall, man, I mean, there's a lot of 1911s out there. And a very large chunk of them are absolute garbage. Fuck that. I tell you what, as far as an off-the-rack gun is concerned, there's a million things that I really do like about it. It runs very well. It shoots very accurately, provided that I'm not fucking up. Dude, it's an all steel gun. 0 mim parts, no polymer, no alloys, none of that. So, dude, realistically speaking, I absolutely positively love this pistol. This thing is one of those pistols that if you're a 1911 person, it's worth it. Now, there's 1,000 motherfuckers out there that are just kind of like, oh, well, this pistol sucks, blah, blah, blah. You know, 1911s are gay. No, I totally get it, man. I understand all the downsides of a 1911, but it's still my favorite pistol. Mostly because it shoots flat and the trigger lies to me. Okay, that's the entire reason. But I mean, if you're looking for a gun that will run really well right out the box, no additional stuff that needs to be added to it, none of that crap, 1700 isn't bad for one of these that works well. Okay, yes, you're going to have to keep up with it because it's a 1911. Yes, you're going to have to make sure that you're avoiding things like stuff that rusts on it because it's a 1911 for sure. And speaking of that, I mean, as far as rust, I would pay close attention to this. Everything in this pistol is just about impervious to rusting type components except for two parts. Okay, and for some reason, there are like two parts that did not get the same coating that the slide and frame have, and as well as most of the other components that are in here. And the barrel itself is stainless, I believe. But either way, it doesn't have rusting issues as far as being exposed to sweat and that kind of thing. Because I've carried this thing, right? So there are a couple of parts that do have a little bit of a rusting issue, and that you do have to pay attention to if you end up picking up this pistol, which is less than most 1911s in the first place. But your hammer and your firing pin retention plate, right? Those two right there did not get the same kind of treatment that the slide and frame and most of the other components in the pistol got for some reason. And I cannot really figure out why. Maybe because it was a high wear area, but then again, I mean, the inside of the slide is, you know, a high wear area also, but they got the same coatings. Aside of those two parts, the rest of this pistol has no issue whatsoever with rust, right? And just carrying this in the South, and it's frickin' summer, okay? You sweat, and the sweat gets in there, and when I discovered it, yeah, okay, it was as simple as scrubbing the rust out, no big deal, but it is something that you do have to pay attention to. Aside of that, though, keep it well lubed and that kind of stuff, and you're good. So, oh, and one last thing. This didn't cause me any problems, but it did make me, it made me feel a little weirded out as far as the reliability of pistol is concerned. The stock recoil spring that came with this was like stupid light. Okay? Under 10 pounds. So it was everything that the pistol did was sluggish. And I could see it evolving into a bigger problem later on. So the thing that really kind of tripped me up, though, is that it didn't have any reliability issues, right? What I did, though, just to make myself feel a little bit better, and so that, you know, it would have more affirmative lockup and all that stuff, was I stuck a Wilson Combat 10-pound recoil spring in here, and it was more for, you know, my warm and fuzzy than anything else. But, you know, I did put an aftermarket part in here, you know, full disclosure and all that stuff. So, you know, is it going to cause you problems? I don't know, really. If I was just using it for like competition and stuff, I wouldn't worry about it at all because it shot amazingly flat. But that's because it had a much lighter recoil spring. I added the a slightly heavier recoil spring in there just to, you know, so, you know, me doing reloads on the thing or dropping the slide didn't look like the slide was going home in slow motion. You see what I'm saying? So, but other than that, the pistol's fantastic. It's worked since I had it, and it's coming up on a maintenance schedule fairly soon. So when I do the extended review on this, I'll let you guys know how much and how often I ended up having to change parts and that kind of stuff. So if you guys want to come out and take training with us, you absolutely can. I'm getting to the point where I can begin to start scheduling classes out for from October through September of 2019. We're not there yet, meaning it's not on the website yet, but once it gets up there, I'll let you guys know. And there's still a bunch of slots available for a bunch of classes that we have coming up. If you want to support us on Patreon, you absolutely can. You know, if we're not, you know, helping guys out on the soldier training program, bringing them in and training them for free, we're dumping what's left of that back into the channel so that we can do stuff like this and do reviews that you guys enjoy. If you want to check us out on the Facebook page, you can absolutely do that as well. And, you know, all the support that you guys have given us, we're very, very close to 50,000 subs, and it's been a hell of a ride. So I appreciate all of that. Also, if you guys want to support the channel and that kind of thing, as far as ratios go, Full 30 pays us way better than YouTube ever will pay a gun person, right? So if you want to check us out there, I would absolutely go ahead and do that. I'm not sure if you picked up my camera guy Josh whispering full 30 at me because I was about to completely forget it. But there's that. So, you know, I appreciate the all of the support and all of the stuff that you guys have done for us. We hope to see you at class. And remember, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy. Oh my God. Fuck out of my face, Josh! Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Those single action triggers, man, they'll make you do dumb shit, like miss a lot.
I think I seen a meme something about it's not your trigger, bro.
Because you're it's make you so fast you're bad.
Yeah, I say stuff too when I miss a lot.
Hey man, when you got a really short trigger, you stop thinking about stuff like fundamentals.
Like making hits.
There's that.
Walk of shame. Go reload.
I'm just gonna stand right here now.
I got 35% on this battery.
He'll stand until your battery dies.
So, the 1911 thing.
Yo, hey, there's gonna be a section where I cut that off.